The conference room at Toronto General Hospital was packed that Tuesday morning. 20 board members, 3 lawyers, and the hospital's chief medical officer sat around the mahogany table. I wasn't supposed to be there, but when I pushed open those heavy double doors, my son-in-law, Dr. Michael Patterson's face drained of all color. "Margaret?" He half stood from his chair, his Mont Blanc pen clattering onto the papers in front of him. "What are you doing here?" I met his eyes across the room. Behind me, my lawyer, Sharon Kim, placed her briefcase on the table with a deliberate thud. "I'm here to stop you from killing my daughter." 3 weeks earlier, I'd been at my restaurant in Chinatown when the call came. Margaret's Noodle House had been my life's work, built from nothing after my husband and I immigrated from Hong Kong 37 years ago. I was in the kitchen, teaching my newest line cook how to properly fold wontons, when my phone rang. "Mrs. Chen?" The voice was professional, clipped. "This is Toronto General. There's been an accident. Your daughter Jennifer was brought in an hour ago." The ceramic bowl I was holding shattered on the floor. Jennifer was 29, 7 months pregnant with her first child, my first grandchild. She'd called me that morning, excited about the nursery furniture that had just been delivered. She was supposed to come by the restaurant for dinner. "What happened?" I managed to ask. "Car accident on the Gardiner Expressway. She's in critical condition. You need to come immediately." I was in my car within 3 minutes. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I drove through downtown Toronto, barely seeing the familiar streets blur past. 23 years I'd been driving this same route from Chinatown to the hospital for various reasons, but never like this. Never with my heart trying to break through my chest. Dr. Michael Patterson, Jennifer's husband of 4 years, was waiting in the ICU family room when I arrived. He was still in his surgical scrubs, pale blue, immaculate as always. Michael was a cardiovascular surgeon at Toronto General, one of the youngest department chiefs in the hospital's history. Brilliant, everyone said, accomplished, from one of Toronto's oldest families, the kind that had streets named after them. I'd never liked him. Margaret. He stood when I entered but didn't move to embrace me. We'd never been that kind of family. "Sit down." "Where is my daughter?" "She's in surgery, severe head trauma, internal bleeding. The baby." He paused. "The baby's heartbeat is strong." "Jennifer?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked away. "We won't know for several hours." I sank into one of those awful plastic hospital chairs. "What happened?" "Jennifer's a careful driver." Something flickered across Michael's face. She swerved to avoid something. The car hit the median, rolled twice. "You weren't with her?" "I was at the hospital. Surgery." His voice was flat. It was almost midnight when Dr. Sarah Hughes, the neurosurgeon, came to find us. Her face was drawn with exhaustion. "Jennifer is stable," she said. "We've relieved the pressure on her brain, stopped the internal bleeding. But Margaret, she's in a coma. We won't know the extent of the damage for several days." "The baby?" Michael asked. "Still showing strong vitals. At 30 weeks, the baby has good chances if we need to deliver early, but we're monitoring closely." "When will Jennifer wake up?" I asked. Dr. Hughes chose her words carefully. "Coma patients are unpredictable. Some wake in days, others weeks. Some, she didn't finish. She didn't need to." I moved into the hospital. There was a small room for family members on the ICU floor, barely bigger than a closet, with a cot and a small sink. I went home only to shower and grab fresh clothes, spending every other moment at Jennifer's bedside. Michael came by twice a day, morning and evening, always in his scrubs, always with that same controlled expression. He'd stand at the foot of Jennifer's bed for exactly 10 minutes, check her charts, nod to the nurses, then leave. On the 4th day, I was reading to Jennifer, her favorite Margaret Atwood novel, when I heard Michael's voice in the hallway outside. "We need to schedule the C-section. Sooner rather than later." I recognized Dr. Hughes's voice responding. "Michael, Jennifer's stable. The baby's thriving in utero. There's no medical reason to rush delivery." "Every day increases the risk," Michael said. "If Jennifer's condition deteriorates suddenly, we could lose them both." Jennifer's showing positive neurological responses. Her EEG patterns are improving. I've seen patients with similar injuries wake up within 2 weeks. And I've seen them never wake up at all. Michael's voice was sharp. "I'm her husband. I have medical power of attorney. I want the C-section scheduled for Friday, 3 days away." I stood up, opening the door. "You're talking about my daughter." Michael turned, his face impassive. "This is a medical discussion, Margaret. About my daughter and my grandchild." Dr. Hughes looked between us uncomfortably. "I'll leave you two to talk." She disappeared down the hallway. "Margaret, you need to trust me," Michael said. "I'm a doctor. I know what's best for Jennifer and the baby." "Best?" I stepped closer to him. "You want to cut her open while she's unconscious? The baby needs to be delivered. At 30 weeks, the baby has an 85% survival rate with minimal complications. Every day Jennifer remains in this state is a risk." Dr. Hughes said Jennifer might wake up. "You heard her. She's showing improvement." "Might." Michael's voice was cold. "Medicine isn't about might, Margaret. It's about odds and outcomes. I'm making the decision that gives our child the best chance." Something in his tone made my blood run cold. Not our daughter and our child, just our child. "What about Jennifer's chance?" Michael looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I couldn't quite name. "I'm doing what's necessary." He walked away, his footsteps echoing down the ICU corridor. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the cot in the family room, staring at the ceiling, listening to the beeps and hums of the ICU machines through the thin walls. Michael's words kept circling in my mind. Something wasn't right. Michael had always been controlled, distant, but this was different. This was calculated. At 2 a.m, I went back to Jennifer's room. The ICU was quiet, just the soft footsteps of nurses making their rounds and the constant whisper of ventilators. I sat in the chair beside Jennifer's bed, holding her hand. Her face was peaceful, like she was sleeping. The monitors showed steady heart rates, both hers and the baby's. "You need to wake up," I whispered. "Your baby needs you. I need you." Jennifer's hand was warm in mine. I noticed her fingernails needed trimming. Such a small thing, but it made her seem so vulnerable. My little girl, who used to help me in the restaurant kitchen, standing on a stool to reach the counter, determined to learn how to make the perfect xiaolong bao. A nurse came in to check vitals. Sandra, a kind woman in her 50s who'd been especially attentive to Jennifer. "You should get some rest, Margaret," she said gently. "Did you hear Dr. Patterson wants to do a C-section on Friday?" Sandra's hand stilled on the IV drip. I heard, "What do you think?" She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "It's not my place to say. Please." As one mother to another. Sandra glanced at the door, then pulled a chair closer to mine. "If it were my daughter, I'd want to wait. Jennifer's vitals are improving. Her brain activity is increasing. These are good signs, Margaret. Very good signs." "Then why would Michael want to rush?" Sandra's expression shifted, uncomfortable. "I shouldn't speculate. Please." She was quiet for a long moment. "I've worked in this hospital for 28 years. I've seen a lot of doctors make decisions under stress. Sometimes grief makes people impatient. They want to control something, anything, when they feel helpless. But Michael didn't seem grief-stricken. He seemed determined. After Sandra left, I sat there watching Jennifer breathe, watching the baby's heartbeat trace steady lines across the monitor. Strong, healthy, patient. Unlike Michael. The next morning, I was in the cafeteria forcing down coffee and a muffin when I saw Michael come in. He wasn't alone. A woman walked beside him, young, early 30s, pretty, wearing scrubs with pediatric ICU embroidered on the pocket. She said something that made him smile, a real smile, not the thin-lipped expression he gave everyone else. Then she touched his arm, her hand lingering there for just a moment too long. I watched them get coffee, talking in low voices, their body language speaking volumes. The way he leaned toward her, the way she looked up at him. I'd been married for 35 years before my husband died. I knew what intimacy looked like. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. They didn't notice. They were too absorbed in each other. Amelia, that was her name. I heard Michael say it as they walked past my table. Amelia. I felt sick. Back in Jennifer's room, I pulled out my phone and did something I'd been resisting. I started investigating my son-in-law. A simple Google search brought up the expected results. Dr. Michael Patterson, cardiovascular surgeon, published researcher, marathon runner. Society page photos of him and Jennifer at charity galas, looking like the perfect couple. But then I found something else. A traffic report from the night of Jennifer's accident. Single vehicle collision on the Gardner Expressway, eastbound, near Spadina Avenue. Driver lost control. Police investigating. Single vehicle. No mention of swerving to avoid anything. I called the Toronto Police Service non-emergency line. "I'm looking for information about an accident on November 2nd, I said. My daughter was the driver, Jennifer Patterson. The officer who took my call was professional but cautious. "What specifically do you need to know, ma'am?" "The accident report. My son-in-law said my daughter swerved to avoid something, but the news report said single vehicle collision." "Let me pull up the file." I heard typing. "Says here the vehicle crossed 2 lanes, hit the median barrier, rolled twice. No other vehicles involved. Officers noted smell of alcohol in the vehicle." My heart stopped. "Alcohol?" "Yes, ma'am. Driver's blood alcohol was tested at the hospital. Results aren't in the public report, but I can tell you officers suspected impaired driving. My daughter doesn't drink. She's pregnant." More typing. The report lists driver as female, passenger seat empty. But there was a notation from the first responder. Found a men's jacket in the vehicle, glass fragments on the passenger seat indicating passenger side window was broken from inside the vehicle. What does that mean? Could mean there was a passenger who left the scene before first responders arrived. After I hung up, my hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I spent the next 2 hours in the hospital's medical records office. As Jennifer's mother and emergency contact, I had the right to access her medical files. The administrator, a tired-looking woman named Ruth, was sympathetic. "I need my daughter's blood alcohol results from the night she was admitted," I said. Ruth pulled up the file. "Says here the test was negative, no alcohol in her system. But the police report said, police test at the scene isn't the same as our toxicology report. We test blood drawn in the ER. Your daughter was completely sober. So the alcohol smell in the car wasn't from Jennifer. Can you tell me who was listed as her emergency contact when she was brought in?" Ruth scrolled through the file. "Dr. Michael Patterson, husband. Was he here when she arrived?" Ruth checked the notes. According to the ER intake, Dr. Patterson arrived approximately 90 minutes after the patient. He'd been contacted at home. At home. Not at the hospital like he'd told me. I left the records office and went straight to hospital security. I told them I needed to see the parking garage footage from the night of November 2nd. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but that requires a police warrant or hospital administration approval," the security guard said. "My daughter is in a coma. I need to know what happened that night." He looked sympathetic but firm. "I can't help you without proper authorization." I went back to Jennifer's room, my mind racing. Michael had been in the car with Jennifer. He'd been drinking. He'd caused the accident, then fled the scene before police arrived. And now he wanted to deliver the baby early, while Jennifer was still unconscious, unable to tell anyone what really happened. But it was more than that. The way he'd looked at Amelia in the cafeteria, the coldness in his voice when he talked about Jennifer, the rush to deliver the baby. I pulled out my phone again and searched life insurance doctor. Michael Patterson, wife. Nothing came up directly, but I knew what to look for. Rich families like the Pattersons believed in insurance, lots of it. I called my cousin Raymond, who worked for a major insurance company in Toronto. "Raymond, I need you to do something for me," I said. "Can you check if there are any life insurance policies on Jennifer Patterson?" "Margaret, I can't just access random people's insurance information. She's my daughter, and I think her husband is trying to kill her." Silence on the line. "Then give me an hour." Raymond called back 45 minutes later. "Margaret, sit down." I was already sitting, but my knees went weak anyway. "There's a $2 million life insurance policy on Jennifer, taken out 8 months ago. Beneficiary is Michael Patterson." 8 months ago? I repeated. "Right when Jennifer got pregnant." "There's more," Raymond said. "The policy has a clause. Double payout if death occurs within the first year. That means if Jennifer dies before next July, Michael gets $4 million. I thought I might be sick. Raymond, thank you. Don't tell anyone about this call. I sat in that ICU room, holding my daughter's hand, watching her breathe, and I knew what I had to do. First, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Sharon Kim, the woman who'd helped me navigate the legal battles when I'd opened my restaurant 20 years ago. Tough, smart, uncompromising. Sharon, I need your help. It's about Jennifer. I told her everything. The accident, Michael's rush to deliver the baby, the insurance policy, the smell of alcohol in the car, Michael's relationship with Amelia. Sharon was quiet for a long moment. Margaret, these are serious allegations. I know. If you're wrong, I'm not wrong. Then we need to move fast. Medical power of attorney can be challenged, but we need grounds, and we need evidence. What do I need? Everything you've found, the police report, insurance documents, hospital records, and we need to file an emergency injunction to stop the C-section. How long will that take? If I file tomorrow morning, we can get a hearing by Friday. But Margaret, you need to understand, challenging medical power of attorney is difficult. Courts usually defer to the spouse's judgment unless we can prove he's acting in bad faith or against the patient's interests. He's acting in his own interests, for money. Then we'd better prove it. That night, I did something I'd never done in my life. I broke into someone's office. Michael's office was on the 5th floor of the hospital in the cardiovascular surgery wing. At midnight, the hallways were empty except for the cleaning crew. I'd borrowed a maintenance uniform from the laundry, baggy, anonymous. I pushed a cleaning cart down the corridor, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Michael's office door was locked, but I'd come prepared. My husband had been a locksmith before he died. He'd taught me the basics. Just in case, he'd said with a smile, "You never know when you might lock yourself out." It took me 3 tries, my hands slippery with sweat, but the lock finally clicked open. Inside, Michael's office was immaculate. Expensive furniture, framed diplomas, photos of him shaking hands with important people. There was one photo of Jennifer, small, on the corner of his desk, their wedding photo. She looked radiant. He looked triumphant. I went through his desk drawers systematically. Files on patients, research papers, conference schedules. Nothing personal. Nothing incriminating. Then I checked his computer. It was password protected, but I knew Michael. Arrogant, predictable. I tried Patterson 1985, his birth year. Nothing. Michael P. 1985, nothing. Then I tried Cardio Chief 1. The computer unlocked. I opened his email. The first thing I found was an email chain with Amelia Thornton, the pediatric nurse I'd seen him with. The messages went back 6 months. They started professional, discussing a patient case. Then they shifted. Dinner plans, late-night texts, and then explicit messages that made my stomach turn. Can't wait until this is all over and we can be together properly. One email from Amelia read, dated a week after Jennifer got pregnant. Michael's response, "Soon. Just need to handle some logistics first." I kept scrolling. Found an email from the insurance company confirming the policy. Found messages to lawyers about his will, making sure the insurance money would be his alone, not part of any estate that Jennifer's family could contest. And then I found the email that changed everything. It was from Dr. Sarah Hughes, the neurosurgeon, sent 2 days ago. "Michael, I wanted to update you on Jennifer's progress. Her EEG shows significant improvement. Theta waves are normalizing, and she's demonstrating purposeful movement in response to painful stimuli. These are very positive signs. I'm optimistic she may regain consciousness within the next 2 weeks. I strongly recommend we delay any surgical intervention to give her more time." Michael's response, sent 12 hours later, noted, "Will proceed with C-section as scheduled." He knew Jennifer was improving. He knew she might wake up. And he was planning to deliver the baby anyway, while she was still unconscious and vulnerable. I took photos of everything with my phone, every email, every document. My hands were shaking so badly I had to retake some of the shots. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway. I froze. The footsteps came closer, stopped outside Michael's office. The door handle turned. I'd locked it behind me, but whoever was outside had a key. The lock clicked. The door started to open. I dropped behind Michael's desk just as the lights flicked on. "I could have sworn I left those files here," Michael's voice said. My heart stopped. He was here. At midnight. Why would he be here at midnight? I heard him walk to the filing cabinet, open drawers, shuffle papers. He was less than 6 feet away from me. If he walked around the desk, he'd see me crouched there like a thief. Because that's what I was. A 62-year-old woman breaking into her son-in-law's office in the middle of the night. "Got it," Michael said. The filing cabinet closed. His footsteps moved toward the door, then stopped. What the hell? I realized with horror that I'd left my purse on his desk chair. My purse with my ID, my phone, everything. Michael walked back toward the desk. I pressed myself against the wall, making myself as small as possible in the shadows. He picked up my purse, opened it. "Margaret?" he said to the empty room. I stood up. Michael stared at me, his face going through several expressions: surprise, confusion, then cold fury. "What are you doing in my office?" I straightened my spine, forcing myself to meet his eyes. "Finding out the truth about the night you almost killed my daughter." His face went pale, then flushed red. "You have no right to be here. You were in the car with Jennifer. You were driving. You'd been drinking. That's absurd. The police report says there was a men's jacket in the car. Glass on the passenger side. You fled the scene before the ambulance arrived, went home to sober up, then came to the hospital 90 minutes later pretending you'd been here all along." Michael's jaw clenched. "Get out of my office. You took out a $4 million life insurance policy on my daughter right after she got pregnant. You're having an affair with Amelia Thornton. And now you want to deliver Jennifer's baby while she's unconscious because you know she's going to wake up and tell everyone what you did. You're insane. I have proof, emails, insurance documents, hospital records, police reports, all of it." Michael took a step toward me. He was a tall man, athletic, intimidating. I'm 5'3", gray-haired, 62 years old, but I'd survived immigration, poverty, racism, and building a business from nothing. I'd survived losing my husband. I wasn't afraid of Michael Patterson. "You have nothing," he said. "I have everything. And tomorrow morning, my lawyer is filing an emergency injunction to stop you from touching my daughter. Jennifer is my wife. I have power of attorney. Not for long." We stood there, facing each other across his immaculate office. The photos of him with important people stared down at us. The degrees proclaimed his brilliance. None of it mattered. "You'll never prove any of this," Michael said finally. "Watch me." I grabbed my purse and walked out, my legs shaking but my head held high. Sharon filed the emergency injunction at 8 a.m. the next morning. By noon, we had a hearing scheduled with the hospital's ethics board for Friday afternoon, the same day Michael had scheduled the C-section. The board meeting was supposed to be private, just hospital administration, medical staff, and the involved parties. Michael would present his case for the C-section. I would present mine against it. But I had other plans. The hospital's ethics board consisted of 20 members: doctors, nurses, administrators, and patient advocates. They met in the large conference room on the hospital's executive floor, a room I'd walked past 100 times but never entered. Until that Friday. I arrived early with Sharon. We set up at one end of the long table, laying out documents, organizing evidence. Sharon wore her power suit, sharp, professional, ready for battle. I wore the same clothes I'd been wearing all week, wrinkled from sleeping on hospital cots, but I didn't care. Michael arrived exactly on time, flanked by his lawyer, David Chen, one of Toronto's most expensive medical malpractice attorneys. Michael looked calm, confident, every inch the respected surgeon. The ethics board filed in. Dr. Hughes was there, looking uncomfortable. So was the hospital's chief medical officer, Dr. Robert Morrison, a stern man in his 60s whom I'd never met. The meeting began. David Chen presented Michael's case with polished efficiency. Jennifer was in a coma with uncertain prognosis. The baby was at 30 weeks, viable, at risk. As her husband and medical power of attorney, Michael had the right and responsibility to make medical decisions in her best interest. Delivering the baby now ensured the child's safety. The board nodded along. It sounded reasonable, compassionate even. Then Sharon stood up. Before we proceed, she said, I'd like to introduce additional evidence. David Chen objected. This hearing is about medical decisions, not what, Mr. Chen? Sharon interrupted. Not about why Dr. Patterson is really rushing this C-section? Not about the $4 million life insurance policy he took out on his wife? Not about his affair with Amelia Thornton? The room went silent. Michael's face drained of color. This is outrageous. Sharon opened her laptop. Is it? Because I have emails, explicit messages between you and Miss Thornton, discussing your plans to be together properly once this is all over. I have insurance documents showing a policy that pays double if Jennifer dies within the first year. I have police reports from the night of the accident showing evidence of a passenger who fled the scene, and I have hospital records proving you lied about your whereabouts that night. She projected the first email onto the conference room screen. Amelia's message to Michael, "Can't wait until we can be together." Dr. Morrison leaned forward, his face grim. Dr. Patterson? Michael stood abruptly. This is a violation of my privacy. You're right, Sharon said, which is why Margaret risked breaking into your office to get this information, because she knew you were willing to let her daughter die for money. That's a lie. Then explain the insurance policy. Explain why you took it out the same month Jennifer got pregnant. Explain why you want to perform a C-section on a woman who, according to Dr. Hughes' own medical notes, is showing significant neurological improvement. Sharon pulled up another document. Dr. Hughes' email to Michael, recommending they wait. Dr. Hughes's face was red. I sent that in confidence. You sent it to inform a husband his wife was recovering, Sharon said. Dr. Patterson ignored it. Because he doesn't want Jennifer to recover. This is all speculation, David Chen said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Sharon pulled up the police report. Single vehicle collision, men's jacket found in the vehicle, glass fragments on the passenger side. Blood alcohol detected at the scene, but not in Jennifer's system. Where were you that night, Doctor? Patterson? Really? The ethics board members were staring at Michael now, their expressions shifting from neutral to suspicious. I was at the hospital, Michael said. I already told everyone. Hospital security records show you didn't badge into the building until 10:30 that night, Sharon said. The accident occurred at 8:15. That's a 2-hour window. Plenty of time to go home, shower, change, sober up. Dr. Morrison's voice was ice. Dr. Patterson, were you in the vehicle with your wife when the accident occurred? Michael's jaw clenched. No comment. That's not an answer. I don't have to answer these accusations. This is a witch hunt. This is a request for truth, Dr. Morrison said. If you were driving that vehicle while impaired, if you fled the scene, if you're now attempting to make medical decisions that benefit you financially while your wife is unable to speak for herself, that's not just unethical, Dr. Patterson. It's criminal. Michael looked around the room. Everyone was watching him, judging him. The respect he'd cultivated so carefully was crumbling. I want to deliver my child safely, he said finally, his voice tight. That's all this is about. Then why the insurance policy? Sharon asked. Why the affair? Why lie about where you were the night your wife nearly died? Michael said nothing. That's when the doors opened. A police officer walked in, followed by a detective in a suit. Dr. Michael Patterson, the detective said. I'm Detective Williams, Toronto Police Service. We have some questions about the accident on November 2nd. We'd like you to come with us. Michael stood frozen. I'm in the middle of a meeting. This meeting is over, Dr. Morrison said. Dr. Patterson, your privileges at this hospital are suspended pending investigation. Dr. Chen, your client is no longer authorized to make medical decisions regarding Mrs. Jennifer Patterson. Margaret, as Jennifer's mother, medical power of attorney reverts to you. Just like that, it was done. Michael walked out flanked by police, his face a mask. David Chen followed, already on his phone. The ethics board members filed out, murmuring among themselves. Sharon packed up her laptop. "Well," she said, "that went better than expected." I couldn't speak. My legs wouldn't hold me. I sat down hard in one of the conference room chairs, shaking. "Margaret?" Sharon put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay? I need to see Jennifer." I went straight to the ICU, doctor. Hughes met me outside Jennifer's room. "Margaret, I owe you an apology," she said. "I should have questioned Michael's rush to intervene. I let professional courtesy override my medical judgment." "You were trying to respect a husband's wishes," I said. "He's very good at seeming trustworthy." "Still." Dr. Hughes pulled up Jennifer's latest charts on her tablet. "I want to show you something. Jennifer's EEG from this morning. See these patterns? She's very close to consciousness. I think within the next week, maybe less, she'll wake up." "The baby?" "Thriving. Strong heartbeat, good movement. There's no medical reason we can't wait for Jennifer to wake up and deliver naturally when she's ready." I went into Jennifer's room. She looked the same as she had for 3 weeks, pale, peaceful, the ventilator breathing for her. But when I took her hand, I felt her fingers squeeze mine. Just a little. Just enough. "Jennifer?" I whispered. "Can you hear me?" Another squeeze. I started crying. 3 weeks of holding everything together, of fighting, of being strong, and I broke down completely, sobbing next to my daughter's hospital bed. "You're safe now," I told her. "The baby's safe. Michael can't hurt either of you anymore. Just rest. Wake up when you're ready. I'll be right here." Jennifer woke up 6 days later. I was reading to her, still Margaret Atwood, different book, when her eyes fluttered open. "Mom?" Her voice was hoarse from the breathing tube. I hit the call button, but I didn't take my eyes off her face. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm right here." The nurses and doctors rushed in. Tests, questions, neurological exams. Jennifer was confused, exhausted, but she was awake. She was herself. When the medical staff finally left us alone, Jennifer looked at me with tears in her eyes. "What happened?" "The accident. Don't worry about that now. You need to rest." "The baby?" "Fine. Perfect. Healthy." She started crying then, relieved. I held her hand. "Mom," she said after a while, "Michael was driving. We'd gone to dinner. He'd been drinking. I told him not to drive, but he insisted. Then, on the highway, he got angry about something I said. He grabbed the wheel, and she stopped, remembering. Then I woke up here." "I know," I said gently. "Where is he?" "Gone, and he won't be coming back." It took another week before Jennifer was strong enough for me to tell her everything. The insurance policy, the affair, the fact that Michael had wanted to deliver her baby while she was unconscious. She listened with a blank face, processing. "I should have known," she said finally. "There were signs, little things. The way he'd been distant, always on his phone, working late. I thought it was just stress from his job. It's not your fault. I married him. I trusted him. He's a good liar. He fooled everyone." Jennifer was quiet for a long time. Then, "The baby's really okay?" "Perfect. Want to see the ultrasound from yesterday?" I showed her the images on my phone. Jennifer studied them, tears streaming down her face. "A girl," I told her. "The technician said she's measuring right on target for 35 weeks. Strong heartbeat, good movement." "A girl," Jennifer repeated, wonder in her voice. "What do you want to name her?" Jennifer thought about it. "Grace, because someone was watching over us." "Grace Chen?" I said. "Perfect." Jennifer delivered Grace Chen at 38 weeks, naturally, exactly as her body was ready. I was in the delivery room, holding her hand through every contraction, every push. When Grace emerged, crying and pink and perfect, Jennifer held her daughter and sobbed. "She's beautiful," I said, looking at my granddaughter for the first time. "She's perfect." Like her grandmother, Jennifer said, looking at me. Michael was arrested 2 weeks after the ethics board hearing. The police investigation found evidence of drunk driving, fleeing the scene of an accident, insurance fraud, and attempted, well, the lawyers argued about what to call it. Negligent homicide? Attempted murder? In the end, they settled on multiple charges that added up to 10 years in prison. His medical license was revoked. The Patterson family disowned him, mortified by the scandal. Amelia Thornton lost her nursing license for the affair. Hospital policy forbade relationships between married doctors and staff. The insurance company investigated and canceled the policy, returning all of Michael's premiums. His lawyer tried to fight for visitation rights to Grace, but Jennifer's lawyers, the ones I hired with money from selling my restaurant, shut that down. Michael had shown clear intent to harm Jennifer and had made no effort to bond with the baby. The judge agreed. No visitation, no parental rights. Michael Patterson ceased to exist in our lives. But the story doesn't end there. Jennifer moved in with me while she recovered and adjusted to motherhood. My apartment above the restaurant was small, but we made it work. Late nights with Grace crying, early mornings making bottles, the exhaustion of new motherhood. We survived it together. Jennifer went back to school, finishing her law degree. "I want to help other women," she told me. "Women who are trapped with men like Michael, who don't have mothers like you to fight for them." She graduated top of her class. Now she works for a legal aid clinic specializing in domestic abuse cases. Grace is 3 years old now. She has Jennifer's eyes and my mother's smile. She helps me in the restaurant kitchen, standing on the same stool Jennifer used 25 years ago, learning to fold wontons. Sometimes I think about that night in Michael's office. Breaking in, stealing evidence, risking everything. People tell me I was brave. But I wasn't brave. I was a mother protecting her child. There's a difference. Bravery is doing something dangerous despite your fear. What I did wasn't bravery. It was necessity. When someone threatens your family, you don't think about courage or consequences. You just act. But I also learned something important through all of this. Evil doesn't always look like we expect. Michael wasn't a monster. He was a respected doctor, charming, successful. He was the kind of man people trusted, and that made him more dangerous, not less. The signs were there. Jennifer saw them and ignored them. The hospital staff saw them and deferred to his authority. I saw them and didn't trust my instincts until it was almost too late. Now I tell other women, mothers, daughters, grandmothers, to trust that voice inside that says something isn't right. Don't ignore the small warnings. Don't let someone's credentials or charm override your gut. And if someone you love is in danger, fight. Fight with everything you have. Use every tool, every resource, every moment. Don't be polite. Don't be reasonable. Be relentless. Because in the end, love isn't just about the tender moments. It's about the fierce ones too. It's about standing in a hospital boardroom and refusing to let someone hurt your child. It's about breaking rules when the rules are protecting the wrong person. Grace calls me Po-Po, Chinese for maternal grandmother. Every Sunday, she helps me in the restaurant. She's learning to speak Cantonese, learning the old recipes, learning the same lessons my mother taught me and I taught Jennifer. But I'm also teaching her something my mother never had to tell me: how to recognize danger, how to trust herself, how to fight back. Because the world is full of Michael Pattersons, charming men with expensive educations who believe they're entitled to whatever they want, whoever they want, no matter who gets hurt. But the world is also full of women like us, women who refuse to give up, women who fight for their families, women who know that sometimes protecting the people you love means becoming someone you never thought you'd have to be. Jennifer asked me once if I regretted what I did. Breaking into Michael's office, stealing his private emails, violating his privacy. I told her the truth. I don't regret it for a second. Because now Grace is laughing in my kitchen, covered in flour, trying to fold a wonton that looks more like a small disaster. Jennifer is at the table, working on case files, fighting for other women who need someone in their corner. And Michael Patterson is in prison, where he belongs. That's not revenge. That's justice. And sometimes, when you're fighting to save someone you love, justice requires you to be a little bit ruthless.